So how have you been overall?
Um, honestly, like I'm fortunate enough that like quarantine, I've been pretty fine. Like, luckily, still employed. Still have money coming in. Healthy. I feel like I had it, or I had like a low grade version of it. Like the first 2 weeks we were in quarantine. Um, and I, kept that to myself for the most part. Like my kids don't even know, so I didn't want them to get worried.
Yeah.
But honestly, like you know, my stress right now is more about like the other stuff that's going on, and just kind of waiting for whatever next is going to be. Like I have no idea what my industry is going to look like after this. Trying to get ahead of it a little bit. And have a couple of things that is funny. I was thinking about this today. Like every time I want to start like talking about and promoting dose and what I'm trying to do with that, like some fuck shit happens. Like the last time I was like prepared, like had like everything written out. That's when Ahmad's stuff came out. And then I was gonna do that this week, and that came out. I'm still gonna do it this week. Just I feel like it's gonna create a space for different conversations. But it's just I think for me like I'm dealing a lot more with that, and I'm stressed out more about that than I am about like anything COVID related, which has some positives, in that. So yeah, like no real like quarantine complaints. Like luckily, me and Robin are like pretty pretty introverted for the most part, so we don't necessarily mind being home. And we have like a decent enough space where like I'm on a call now in the living room. She's in the bedroom on a call. We can kind of move things around for space and all that stuff. So yeah, no real complaints, man. How about you?
It's been the same on my end where I could honestly say I'm mainly introvert, so I've been able to take care of what I need to take care of. I have a garage gym, so I've been
Nice.
doing work like I feel the best I felt in a long time
That's dope.
because there's less running around. And the
Mm-hmm.
same thing that you mentioned where the industry is just what I'm seeing is going to be more private trainings, small groups where it's close friends only.
Mm-hmm.
And if we have another surge, it's going to go right back into virtual. So,
Yeah, I think even without the surge, virtual's not going anywhere anytime soon.
mm-mm.
Because you also have like people that have spent hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to like kit out their home gym. Like if I already have this home gym and I have the option of like staying home and working out, and I think a lot of people are going to realize that they can do their jobs from home as well. So I think there's going to be like a significant, in my opinion, paradigm shift with like what people. It's funny. I remember the jokes coming out when quarantine first started about, okay, now we're gonna find out like which meeting could have been an email instead, right? And I
Oh,
think it's also now going to become like what aspects of my life do I really need to be outside for? And people have been spending 2 going on 3 months like working from home. A lot of those people aren't going to change that. And yeah, it's going to be interesting. Like I know fitting room is like trying to do both. Like they're trying to slowly, once we can, like start in class sessions, but being smart. Also, it's summertime, so like we low key may make more being consistent with these live classes because people are in the Hamptons. It's funny, I hadn't thought about it until today, but like a couple of people that I know are already like out in the Hamptons because they were taking my class this morning. And I'm looking at the background. I'm like, that's not your place. And the more I'm looking, I'm like, that's the Hamptons house because every summer my boss gets a house in the Hamptons, and this is one of the investors that took my classes when. I'm like, is that the old Hampton house? So they're like in the Hamptons chilling right now. So
and it makes
you
sense.
know, yeah, like those people are, and I think a lot of people are just trying to get out of New York. Like if you've been stuck here for 2 months, the moment that you can head out, you're gonna try to, like Robin's, in the middle of talking to her sister about us possibly going down there to South Carolina, in, oh shit, it is about to be June, like the third week in June, because her birthday's on the 16th. So we may head out there, and just like to get away and like have space. Like they have this huge house out there. Imagine, I can't really complain about space here. Like we have a nice little shared backyard. Like I just put up, because I was trying to figure out kind of where to put it, and I didn't want to spend like. I was trying to figure out where to put it because if not, I was gonna get a stand. But like, put this hammock that I've had for the longest, like a travel hammock, put it up to there, and I was like, oh, this is about to be a problem. Like
Got
I'm
it.
gonna be chilling in this backyard all day.
That's amazing though. And like you said,
Yeah, yeah,
with South Carolina, there's gonna be a lot more space for you too.
yeah,
And
yeah, absolutely. And I think they're already like they've already started the process of reopening, which again, like outside of New York, I feel like this process is going to be a little bit easier just because there is more space. Like we're so dense, it's like you can't avoid people. Like it's in the place of South Carolina, like we could literally be in the house and like walk around their huge neighborhood and like not necessarily feel like I have to move out of someone's way. Whereas I go to the laundromat and I'm like walking in the street because people, are still kind of adjusting to how to walk on the sidewalks and like give people space and stuff like that. So it's gonna be interesting what this all looks like soon. It's
yeah,
gonna
I
be
mean,
very
time will
interesting.
tell, to be honest. So I have a couple questions for you.
Yeah,
First
yeah,
will
definitely.
be in the health and fitness area. Where do you see the industry going? I know you're already in that mindset of kind of.
I see it, to your point, I see it being a little bit more personalized. And I think those of us that kind of see where this is going and are creating platforms so we can get ahead of it, I think are going to be at an advantage. I feel like there's still a lot of people in the industry that think things are going to go back to some level of normal. And I think that wasn't going to happen before COVID. I think, if you listen to people like, oh, I'm blank, Tony, why am I blanking on Tony's name right
Tony
now?
is he a fitness guy?
Yeah, he's a fitness guy, but he's also like a tech and information kind of guy.
Tony,
Fuck, he was my student. Like, I can just look on my damn phone. But if like I've had a lot of conversations with Tony Vidal, I think it is.
yeah,
Yeah, Tony Vidal.
that's the pro.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know how I forgot. Like, it's funny. He
Great
used to
guy.
be one of my students, in one of my first graduate classes that I taught at LIU. Um, it's like 5 years ago.
Wow.
But he was kind of taught. If you listen to like his podcast, he's been talking about like the fitness industry kind of hitting this breaking point. And if you look at like, it's just there's no way it wasn't already on that trend because of the oversaturation of it. Like, when I walk around Flatiron, where my main studio is, like in that like 5 to 6 block radius, there's at least like 20, if not more, like fitness related spaces. At some point, that just wasn't gonna make sense. It wasn't gonna be maintainable. So I think there was already a bubble happening. What I see coming is a lot more specific to client kind of programming. And I've kind of I've been doing all variations of it. Like I've been doing literally just, I'm going to send you a program, charge you for the program. I'll have some follow up. I'll send some videos if you need, but like there's no coaching there. Then there's, the one-on-one coaching, on Zoom, which I can be a little bit more like of a coach. Then like small group classes, if you and like your friends want to have a class together, I got you guys. Then there's the fitting room live stuff that I'm doing, which is, 24 people at most, in a live setting. So I think that versions of that and variations of that are going to continue to happen. And we have to be we have to be as malleable as possible during this process. Like I didn't spend before COVID, and I'll be the first to admit it, like I didn't spend a ton of time programming for my clients because I've been in the industry long enough. And again, I'm not saying this is necessarily like the thing to do, but I can go into a session with a client that I'm seeing twice a week and know exactly what I'm doing with that client because I have more toys to play around with. Now that it's, okay, she has one kettlebell, half a dumbbell, and a couple of bands, like, what am I going to do with that? And for me, it's been exciting because I'm tapping into parts of myself as a trainer, as an instructor that I haven't had to in a while. Like even programming for my small group classes, like knowing that these people have very limited space, limited access to equipment, like doing 3 months going on now of like 4 to 6 bodyweight classes a week, and like having that be different because you don't know if like the person that took it yesterday is going to be taking it today. It's like that it's to the point now where I'm like, I don't know how many versions of this same movement
It's time
I
to
could
recycle.
do. Yeah, and like luckily like people are starting to like get equipment and all that stuff. But yeah, I definitely think that regardless of what normal begins to look like digital in various iterations, like whether it's one-on-one training, whether it's group exercise, um, I think it's going to become a bigger thing. And for me, um, just some insight into how I want to, which is part of what I want to do with those, like I want to package more than just fitness. Like I think that a lot of people, literally everyone, like, and I can say this with a certain level of certainty, everyone has experienced some sort of trauma in the last 2 months. The
Easy.
level of that trauma is going to be significantly varied, but like everyone that has gone through this has, whether it's direct trauma, whether it's kind of contextual trauma, and that's going to be if you're this color, your trauma is going to be different because other things have happened during this time, right? So part of what I want to also offer is not therapy because I'm not a licensed therapist, but an opportunity to express yourself and have a space for like mindfulness and processing and giving yourself the space to just talk through a lot of what's happened because we're still in it, so it's hard to process some of it. But once we come out of this and like, okay, this is the new normal, there are still going to be moments where you're going to walk by some place, be like, oh shit, that place isn't there anymore, right? You're going to visit a place and it's like, hey, whatever happened to, and that person may be gone. So it's like these layers of trauma that I think, and forget the people that are like frontline workers and all that other stuff. So I want to create a space that is not just like the physical component of it, but also like the psychological component of it. And also, for me personally, dealing with like diversity and inclusion issues within health and wellness, which is another big part of what I want those to be, because that also impacts your mental health. And I'm trying to. I was gonna post something earlier, and I like had to stop myself because I know that I'm emotional. I'm still gonna post something around it, but I think for me, I'm also at a point where, like, the fitness industry is really disappointing me with how quiet they've been about a lot of the social justice issues that we're seeing lately. And I think for me, like there is a hesitation with me working directly in that space as much as I have previously that I'm starting to develop. And it's frustrating because we're about to get into Pride Month, and I know this is a huge segue, so I apologize. I can.
We're flowing.
Um, and it's like it's funny. SRJ mentioned it, and it's like, y'all, like I love like all types of people in all communities, but like if y'all haven't said shit like these past couple of months about what's happening, like don't ask me for shit. Like don't ask me to promote anything. Don't ask me to like advocate. Don't ask me to like I need voices right now. Like I need, I said this when the Ahmad thing happened, like I need timelines to be flooded with this. I need like everyone to be as uncomfortable as I am, as you are, as Robin broke down last night and like just started crying while we were trying to wind down last night. And I was a straight zombie all day yesterday. Like I got through my classes in the morning and I was just like, I'm gonna just lay here for the rest of the day. Like tried to stay off social media. So that's been kind of heavy on me. And for me, like, back to the original question, I think fitness is going to be a little bit more nuanced and a little bit more political, for lack of a better term now, because I think the ownership that a lot of instructors are now going to take over their product, over their branding, is going to lead to things being more specific to how you present yourself, how you see the world, and the people that are your clients and fuck with you and appreciate you, like they're gonna rock with you still. Those that don't won't. And I'm honestly at the point
Okay.
where I'm kind of cool with that. Like if I can have like a small group of clients that like I know are gonna rock with me and I know are gonna be consistent and at the end of the day like show that they care about me, like then we're all good. But like everybody else, and I hate to make it like a general statement, but I'm like, I need I need everyone to feel as uncomfortable as I am right now with what's happening. Um, but yeah, I think digital is gonna play a really big part. I think more individualized, not only as far as like the services that you provide, but also how you provide those services and what's at the heart of the service that you're providing. I think those are things that are going to be important because everyone's going to have some live streaming shit. Everyone's going to have some IG stuff. Everyone's going to have, some variation of, well, if you use this app, you can, take my classes here, like whatever the next Zoom is going to be. Like these are all things that are going to impact that. But in my opinion, those of us that are going to come out of this successful and be able to anticipate not necessarily this because obviously we don't want this to happen again, but like another possible shutdown or unfortunately another possible wave happening in the fall. Like I don't want to be in a position where if shit goes left, like I'm anxious like I have been for these past couple of months. And my anxiety is completely relative because I don't have a lot of the concerns that a lot of other people have. Like financially I'm doing okay, physically I'm doing okay. Emotionally for the most part, outside of some of the social issues happening, like I'm okay. So it's about figuring out like what's your lane and like really being specific about who you are, what you offer, and how you're going to offer that
And how you're showing up, like what you
and
mentioned.
how you're showing up and how you're consistently showing up. Like it's you don't realize how important it is until, for me personally, like it's something that like this is just me, like, and I'm at a point in my career where I'm not gonna be anyone else but Los. Like I'm not trying to be Carlos. I'm not trying to be Mr. Davila. Like I'm trying to be Los. Like I spent a lot of time in my life like trying to force myself into certain boxes to fit in, and and this is something that's kind of taken some trial and error with fitting room, but I've been very, I mean, I've had conversations with my owner, or emails with my owner that like I literally had to ask myself before sending it, like, are you okay with getting fired over this?
Mm.
And each and every time I've been fine
Real
with it.
shit. That's real
And
shit.
these have all been things that like resonate with me, as Los. Like it's not just, oh, I didn't get paid this. It's been like, oh, this happened, and I'm uncomfortable about it. Let's talk. Or just calling people out on certain shit. Like that's just me. Like I'm not gonna be disrespectful. I'm not gonna be whatever, but I'm also gonna be honest. And those people that can deal with that, they'll fuck with me all day. Those people that can't, I ain't really want to fuck with you
Bullshit.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really want to, and I'm not gonna change. Yes, I'm gonna obviously like, play by certain rules, but like not being myself and like not speaking out about shit and not calling out like my own organizations. Like, I sent the email to my owner about like nothing being said during Black History Month from our organization, and like, again, something that I know like may have rubbed her and the rest of the managed team the wrong way, but it's like,
You're
sorry,
that
not
voice
sorry.
in that group, and that's what's important is being proactive in every aspect and element of your life. You're making sure you're showing up authentically, and that's powerful. The fact that you're like, all right, if I get fired, am I okay with this? Yes.
Yeah.
And
And
every time,
it's like, obviously I wouldn't be, but it's like, you know what, like, that fear isn't gonna stop me from taking that step. It's funny, like, randomly, do you know Nick Pax?
yeah,
I'm sure you
I
know
gotta
Nick
reach out
Pax.
to the whole talent hack group for this because that would be amazing to get
Say
every.
again.
I need to reach out to that talent hack
Yeah,
group.
absolutely, man. Talent Hack will be a great resource for this. So I did there, and a lot of the stuff that I'm realizing about like starting a small business and what that's gonna look like, I got from their like 4 week um, digital media series. I still have some stuff that I need to look over, but it's
Nick did
funny
that,
because,
right?
again, huh?
Nick did that, right?
He did like the first one, but it was each day, so it was 12 sessions total. Three per week for 4 weeks. It was a different person each time and a different topic each time.
Got it.
So Nick's was the first one, and his was on like mind setting, obviously, because that's his thing. But he randomly left me like a voice message on my DM the other day, like essentially just bigging me up for like how I've consistently shown up and like, who I am as a person and how I present myself and the things that I'm passionate about and I'm, consistently passionate about. And it was one of those things that it's like there was no like, he didn't have to do that. Like there was no reason for him to do that. But it was something that, because like I have tons of like issues with like self-worth and like, shit from my childhood.
I'm right there with.
So huh?
I'm right there with you. It's fucking.
Yeah,
Take time
it's
to work through those layers.
yeah. So like even hearing that, I was like, oh shit. Like it's interesting because I had just spoken to Ivo the day before. Hadn't spoken to Ivo in a minute. We are playing phone tag for a while, and he was literally saying the same thing, like in that conversation. And I'm just like, okay, like I need to not that I need to, because again, they wouldn't have said it if I wasn't already doing it. But for me, that was a push to like, all right, what's next? How do I take this to the next level? And it's like, I feel like as soon as I get that motivation, like some shit happens, whether it's fucking, the white lady with the dog or, the dude being killed, that like, it's weird. Like I have these moments of like inspiration and motivation and like all this other stuff. Then something like that happens, and I'm like, I don't want to do shit. So luckily I've been relatively consistent with the ebb and flow. Whether it's like I'm just tired of Corona shit or like whatever social shit, like it generally doesn't last more than one day. So I knew yesterday, like, okay, just get through today. You'll be fine. You don't have anything else to do today. Get through today, and then tomorrow you'll be more productive. And I've been pretty productive today.
It seems like those moments are times for you to, because it's like literally like subconsciously you're not being reactive. You're taking time to kind of reflect and just kind of understand what the hell is going on. Because even I said some things today. I'm just fed up with this whole everything. It's being the media is blasting this so much where now the main issue is human rights. What the hell is going on? Why are the people that should be stepping up, making sure that humans are being treated fairly? We have individuals who are cops who can't handle situations the right way.
Yeah,
To your point, I think this all kind of goes with that version that you just need to step into. Even like when you take the time to reflect on these unfortunate events, how you
mm-hmm.
how you move forward and talk about it. If you do decide to talk about it, is los.
Yeah, absolutely. And that for me, like it's becoming such an important part of like everything that I do right now. Like, because going into quarantine, like I was terrified. Like I didn't know. Thankfully, fitting room kind of turned it around quickly, and we were able to make things happen. And my teaching, the professor stuff, like that was an easy transition to digital because I had already done something similar to that before, so that wasn't as hard of a pivot. So I lucked out there, but like there was definitely some anxiety at the beginning of it about like, what the fuck am I gonna do? Like, how is this gonna look? And then like every week that it continued, and like, first it was like April 28th, and then it was like May 15th, and it's sad that I remember those fucking dates, but like,
Facts.
and now it's to the point where I'm just like y'all, let's just like ease back into this so we don't fuck it up and like have to shut it down once again. So,
The summer is gonna be interesting because everybody's getting
what I'm
angsty, whatever the fuck.
what I'm hoping is that like as many people, I mean, but that's also a part of New York anyway. Like a lot of people leave. And I think that in a weird way may help. Because if you have a bunch of people out of town, then it's gonna be less contact. I mean, the people that are here are gonna have contact. Like they've been doing it before, we started phase one or whatever, so they're definitely gonna do it. But yeah, man, just I'm at a point in my life and in my career where I'm like, if you like, I don't need the in between. Like, you either fuck with me or you don't. Like, I don't need the. I'm still trying to figure. If you're still trying to figure it out, it's probably not gonna happen. So I'm gonna just continue like being me. Because at the end of the day, like that's what's for me. That's what's important. Like being able to look at yourself in the mirror. And there have been times, in my fitness career where I've avoided looking at myself in the mirror because, you know, I've I've ignored things or I haven't spoken up, about things that are important to me. And that's just not me anymore. So anything that I do, whether it's fitness related, whether it's anything related, like it's about who I am as a person and what I stand for, and that's why I don't want my whatever my next, iteration of like fitness that I offer. Like I want it to be more than just, we're doing these reps, we're doing whatever. I want it to be also like an opportunity for people to grow in different ways that aren't just physical. Like
Definitely wellness.
yeah, like for me, it's more wellness than it is like fitness.
And I
It
feel
has to
like
be like more all encompassing.
with everything that slowed down, it's kind of like you mentioned in the beginning, where there were so many fitness studios in the 4 block radius that now if you're showing up and you're just about fitness, like there's overall just in the health and wellness space, there's just more than fitness. So just trying to beat that hammer doesn't make sense when
Yeah,
people, if a person is just focusing on their fitness but they haven't dealt with everything else, they're still gonna crash at the end of the day. They could be
exactly.
as lean as hell, but then still have depression or may have a heart attack from anxiety, which we've heard and have
Hmm.
seen just throughout this whole experience. So it'll like you mentioned, it'll be interesting to see. I do have two more lovely questions that I think you're
Yeah,
gonna enjoy.
absolutely.
Um, so just think about your life, your career, about a pivotal moment in your life where you had to. Let me just look it up before I screw up the question. A pivotal moment in your life that helped you transition from an old mindset to a new and improved mindset that improved your quality of life.
Mm. Um, I don't know that there was a specific. You know what? I think the first time that I had to send an email to my boss about an incident that happened that felt very racially inappropriate by a staff member, and not just because like I think it was one of those. For me, it was a moment where I realized that I have I have the skill set and the capacity to communicate about things that are important to me in a way that resonates with people, even if I'm calling you out on how you handled something. And I
It's
think
felt in an honest way.
yeah, and I think it almost like gave me this breath of like power, for lack of a better term, or like feeling more comfortable with me and who I am as a person, and how I communicate about racial issues and microaggressions and diversity and inclusion. So it was one of those moments where I knew that this could be something that, because and it's funny because there was no reason for me to be at the center of this issue,
Mm.
no reason at all. But I became the focal point of this issue and not the person who committed the incident, for lack of a better term, the person um, who made and to give that person credit to made the error in judgment, with what they did. Somehow it became about my response to it, which again, as I thought about it after the fact, it was like there's so many like microaggressions in how you guys are perceiving, my response to it, and how people are describing my response to it. Like it became this weird, like almost victim blaming situation. And that moment that I kind of stood up for myself and made it very clear that like this is not cool. I'm not going to be anyone's, victim. I'm not going to be anyone's scapegoat. Like this person fucked up. They need to be held responsible for how they fucked up. Whatever my response is, and not that my response was bad, but whatever it would have been, if it would have been what you guys said my response was, me like slamming a door and storming out of my place of work and communicating in a way that was inappropriate. I'm like, I've known this person before they came to fitting room. I'll communicate however the fuck I want to with that person because we have a standing relationship, and I'm gonna be that honest person. So if you fucked up, I'm gonna say that you fucked up. I'm gonna give you the opportunity to explain your perspective, and I don't have to agree with your perspective, but I'll accept that that's your perspective. But it gave me like this really interesting, and it's funny. I don't think that I thought about this before you asked me this question,
Mm.
because I think my entire way of thinking, way of engaging, and my confidence in that was significantly impacted by that experience. I think a lot of my level of vocality, that's not a word, how vocal I've
Now
been.
it is.
I was trying to make it a word, and I was like, that's not a word. I think a lot of that came from that moment where I was like, yo, regardless of what the consequences are, like you need to stand up right now. Like you need to make it clear that like your your emotional space, your physical space, your the space that you're supposed to be productive and engaging has to feel safe. And if it doesn't, you have to be allowed to say something about it. And I think I've been consistent with that ever since then. And now, like, it's weird. Like, people will come to me about issues, before they will go to management. So it's been, I think for me, that was the moment where I was like, I really sort of fell into who I am as a person and what I want that to look like. And that was definitely a game changer for me.
Like,
I think career-wise, like there have been over the years, like moments where you kind of see the finished picture before it's done. Like you see people like trying to cut your throat, or you see people like doing things because they want something. Like that's the reason why I left the YMCA, because the person that I was working under was trying to get the vacant job above me and was trying to use me as like, I don't know, it was weird. It was like, I think she felt that like trying to get me in trouble for things made her look like more of an authority, which would have put her in that position above me, which I didn't want that position anyway.
Like people be playing games when it's like
Yeah, like,
life is no fucking joke for you to try to be doing this.
and I'm like people don't understand, like this is work. And it's funny, my HR person hit me up recently, and it ended up being an amazing conversation. She was just asking, because I kind of said it like as an aside in a meeting, and I was like, people have no idea what the fuck like goes into our day to day. And she had mentioned in that meeting that she wanted to follow up. We spent like an hour talking about it, and I'm like, yo, like, it's all fun and games, like when you see the finished product and you see us in the studio and you see us engaging or whatever. But one, especially for those of us that are introverts, that takes a lot of work. Like me being Babalos or whatever the fuck they call me when they're in there, like that takes a lot of work. You know what I mean? Like,
You got to show up.
yeah, like you got to show up. You know, with me specifically, because I do have a co-instructive format, I got to show up different ways on different days. I'm still gonna be me, but like depending on who I'm teaching with, like that has to be a slightly different variation of myself. So that's, you know, work. My music, my programming, like all these things, you know, take work. And a lot of times I think we're put in this very like weird, trivialized box of, oh, well, you guys just come in and tell us what to do and all this other stuff. And I'm like, do you see the other people that are taking this class with you that are a hot ass mess that I've just spent the last half hour trying to get them to figure something out, and because they're not fucking paying attention, they can't figure it out, and now I have to sit here with a smile on my face and a good job. It's like, no. And I said it in my review last year, because I knew it was going to be a part of my review. I was like, look, I know I've been a lot more snarky lately than normal. Like I own that. Like I'm letting people get to me. But to my point, like it's a lot. It's a lot. And I think for me, another sort of point of power and a point of growth was realizing like what it is that I bring to people's lives. Which like fitness was always kind of a side hustle for me. Like I got into fitness, you know, to pay bills. Like it wasn't, I was in undergrad, I want to say at the time. And it was essentially just to help pay with bills. And then, you know, because I had a really good manager when I first started at New York Sports Club. Once he left, it was a shit show, but really good manager who really stressed education and would like, you know, give us like, was it, I don't know if it was NASM. It may have been like a precursor to NASM, but whatever it was, I want to say it was Perform Better or one of those companies. They used to have like a bunch of fitness articles that they would post on their website. And my manager would like print them out, have them for us, and like quiz us on it. You know, at other times. So like education has always been an important part of that process for me. But that having that moment of, okay, this is not just, you know, what Instagram kind of shows, you know, fitness instructors to be like, you know, I'm not just here to like flirt with everyone in the class, which has happened early in my career. Hell yeah. Absolutely. But like you get to the point where it's like you realize the impact that you have on a person's life, and it's like you have to make that decision, like how serious do I want to take this? And I think once you realize the impact and the because it's not just fitness stuff, as we've discussed, like your impact. Like I know stuff about clients' lives that like their significant others may not know, their family members, you know, may not know. So there's so many layers there to it. And I think like having that moment where I realized like, okay, like this is more than just, you know, I want my shoulders to look a certain way for my wedding dress, or I want a flat tummy, or all this other stuff. Like it's a lot more than that. And that definitely, I think, has just increased my level of engagement within that space. Like I have a client who, again, I'm just doing like writing out the program and sending it to her. She'll send me like clips of like different parts of the workout, and like she's doing things that like she never thought she'd be able to do. That's like she showed me this kettlebell flow that I showed her the other day, and I was like, literally the whole time I was like, oh, you know, and like how proud, yeah, like, and seeing like in the video like how proud she is of like the weight she was using in her form. I'm like, that for me is what this entire thing is about. And mind you, that's the person that I engage with the least in this process, because I'm not seeing her while she's working out. I'm just sending her the program. So that's for me another interesting challenge, because and we're going on with her. This is my ninth week, so we do three programs a week, um, and this is going on the end of her ninth week. That's I can't even do the math. Like nine times, that's 20, at least 27 programs that have to be different, have to have a different stimulus, have to build on things that happened before that. Like,
For her goals, where she's at.
yeah, like this shit is work. And I actually have more of an appreciation of having to go back to, so not necessarily when I started training, but go back to being more active with programming, and engaging in programming a lot more. But yeah, those would definitely be kind of the two moments when I realized like the more significant overarching impact that I have and my role in a person's life can have, and also that moment where I decided that the monetary part of my job wasn't as important as the kind of emotional, parts of who I am as a person, and making sure that like I didn't want to go to work feeling uncomfortable, and I knew that was going to be the case if I didn't respond to that initial email the way that I did. I was going to be on edge. I was getting like I would, and I would have ended up being taken out on clients, and not necessarily on purpose, but like if you're in a pissy mood,
It's gonna
that
lash
that
out.
that buffer isn't there. And I know for me, like if I'm in a bad mood, I let my instructor, like my co-instructor, know at the beginning, like if I'm dealing with something, because I know that like being in that space sometimes just takes patience, because people don't listen, people do whatever the fuck they want to do. And especially in a space where like we're very specific about like form and technique, and like yo, like you can hurt yourself with these pieces of equipment. I tend to get a little bit more riled up when people aren't listening. So
The passion coming out.
yeah, because and I've had people like, obviously the people that I'm engaging with aren't gonna respond this way, but I've had people that have been in classes where I've had a moment where I'm like, y'all, and I'm not just gonna spaz out for the sake of spazzing out. Like I'll let you know, if I didn't care, I wouldn't care. Like if it was one or two people, yeah, we'll deal with that because that's what our format allows. But if like six of you guys weren't listening, and I saw that you weren't listening while my co-instructor was demoing, and I knew that I was gonna have to go over the speech with you because you weren't listening, yeah, like I'm gonna lose my shit a little bit. Because for me, and I've had conversations with my boss about this. Like for me, that means that you don't respect. If you're coming into a space that at the end of the day, like this is my shit, like this is my space, this
They're
is
coming to you.
my domain. Like if you knew how to do all this, you wouldn't be here. Like yes, there's definitely the social component of it, but I think what makes us um you know one of the better fitness studios is that we spend so much time going over range of motion and mechanics and all that stuff. So it gets really frustrating when people don't respect your craft, or respect the level of attention and detail and effort that you put into your craft. So for me, like having those moments of kind of owning your dopeness in that space, and owning like why you are who you are within that space, like those moments are really important for me. And I see it with other instructors. Like, and it's funny because I'm seeing how COVID is forcing a lot of instructors to become that. Like, I have a relatively close friend who works with me, who unfortunately like wasn't part of the, like Fitting Room only kept like a certain number of instructors. They kind of had to.
It's a tough time
Wasn't a
for
part.
body businesses. Everything's tough.
Yeah. So unfortunately, he wasn't a part of that group of people. But he's like, in the meantime, created this dope ass brand for himself, like amazing brand for himself. And I'm like, yeah, like whether you decide to come back into this fold or not, like that's what I want to see. Like I want people to start like accepting that this is a space, this is a dynamic where everybody's trying to figure shit out. Like, you're not the only one trying to figure shit out, but it's also an opportunity for you to figure shit out, right? You can see that as like a stressor and something that's going to overwhelm you, or you can see it as something that's kind of exciting. And I think when I do have those moments where I can be productive, I'm excited about what this can be. I'm excited about like being able to create something that I don't necessarily have to like always be on top of for it to make money or for it to have an impact, right? And my energy is going to be very different if it's this is a Los thing. This is, my name, my face, my everything about who I am as a person, like as a part of this process. Your energy immediately increases with that. Like, that, like with the app, with the Verbance, like that's my baby. Like, I'm gonna spend a lot more time on that stuff than I am on anything that anybody else is doing. And I think it's gonna be interesting seeing like what impact the decisions that the fitness industry is making right now, what impact that's going to have on the people that are still interested in the in-person variation of that, because a lot of places aren't coming back. And I hate to say that, but like it's just not possible. Like, a lot of these smaller kind of fitness facilities, or even the bigger ones, like they're not going to be able to survive this process.
With what
So
economy?
figuring out like,
You got
yeah, or the
booming, trying to make money now.
it's a lot. So yeah, those would definitely, back to your original question, like those would definitely be like the two big moments that I've had within kind of the fitness industry that have had like a really significant impact on just who I am within that space.
I love it. So now my favorite question that I get to ask people, what is one gem you would like to leave for the next generation? It could be with fitness, could be about life, it could be whatever you want.
I think for me, what I've come to realize, and this is in any space that I'm in, is you have to be genuine. It takes a lot of work to not be genuine. Like, and I'm saying that because I've been there. Like, I've been the version of myself that I think people want to see, right? And I had to come to the realization that, one, that takes way too much work. Two, I was miserable, and also didn't really, it stifled, in my opinion, my development, because if I don't really know who I am, or have the space, or give myself the space to be who I am, then how am I developing? How am I growing, right? If I'm acting, right, for the purposes of whatever space that I'm in, whether that's education, whether that's fitness, whether that's relationships, right? I'm acting like this person that you want me to be, I'm losing who I actually am.
You're out of touch with your inner self.
Yeah, like I'm out of touch with who I am, who I want to be, what I want that to look like, because I'm spending so much time and energy on playing this role, on being this character. And I said earlier how I feel like I have to be different versions of myself when I'm teaching with different people, but there's always going to be lows. Like, it's always going to be, I may not be like the if I'm good cop one day, if I'm bad cop the other day, even that good cop is going to have like my sarcasm or my humor, right? So for me, like, there's nothing, in my opinion, whether it's in the fitness industry, whether it's in whatever, whether it's in education, like even as a professor, like I remember feeling like, oh my God, I have to like wear a button up and slacks every time I teach. And then I got to the point where I was like, this doesn't impact who I am as a professor and how I communicate and how I engage.
How they retain information.
Yeah, like do I need to feel like this has to be how I show up in order for people to respect me? And that was a really big conversation that I had to have with myself. Does what I wear as a professor, and I'm not coming in there with like cut off shirt and like shorts like I am right now, but like, do I need to wear, a shirt and tie and slacks every time that I show up for that? And I got to the point where I was like, no, like I can still dress relatively how I normally do and still be a dope ass professor. So I think for me, it's definitely like figuring out how to be your genuine self within whatever space you're going to be, and like figuring out within that space what are your non-negotiables.
Mm.
And like they can't be kind of negotiables. Like, what are your non-negotiables? Like, if this happens, I have to say something, or if this happens, I can't work here anymore. Like, those are the things that for me allow me to have a certain level of comfort and peace with whatever space that I'm in. So yeah, I think that for me is like the biggest thing that I would, my gem is take some time, and it's work. And
Every,
that's why a lot of people don't do it. It's work, like
every,
sitting down and figuring out like who you are, what you want that to look like. Because again, like you determine to a certain extent like what that internal interpretation of yourself looks like, and you can play around with that, and that's what, in my opinion, like adolescence is for, to kind of play around with who you are as a person. And then young adulthood, you start to kind of refine that. But my thing is like, don't go through that process to then at the end of it still be what other people want you to be. You know what I mean? Like if I was the thing, if I became the things that I was told I was gonna be as a kid, we wouldn't be having this interview because I probably wouldn't be here. I'd either be
oh,
locked
a
up.
doctor.
Yeah, I would have been, no, I would have been locked up or in jail. Is literally, something that like my parents used to tell me when I was a kid because of the friends that I had, not realizing that those same friends were the ones that were stopping me from doing anything. Like literally all my friends when I was growing up were drug dealers, and never in the history of ever have I ever done that because I wasn't allowed to. They were like, all right, we see that you're smart, and again, super introverted, but like still part of like the crew, for lack of a better term.
Got
And they were
potential.
like,
We'll see
no,
that.
we're gonna make sure that you get out of this space. Um, so those things are all like, in my opinion, like just figuring out like who you are as a person and being genuine to that, um, is huge, because it's so much work, and you're so miserable trying to be someone else.
And with
And
some
again, this is
time that
coming
we
from
have,
experience.
and with the time that we have is like being
Exactly.
authentic as we can be every moment.
Even now, that's even more important, man. Like if we're not thinking about like mortality and legacy and all that other stuff right now, then I don't know what it's gonna
What the
take
fuck?
for us to.
And what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah, like I part of it is because we've been quarantined and I haven't been able to go outside, but like I've started looking into like finances and like investing and all this other stuff that I would have never thought about. But it's like at the end of the day, like I want my kids to be comfortable, I want me to be comfortable in a couple of years, and this opportunity has allowed me some time to like save a little bit of money. Why not? um so yeah, man, it's about figuring out who you are. And again, that's not an easy part. I've been in therapy for like 4 or 5 years now. And you think you don't have anything else to talk about in all that time, but every time I speak to my therapist, if I'm not just like processing what's happening, at that time, there's always like a moment where I'm like, oh shit. The number of times where I've been on a call or like in person with my therapist and I've been like, oh shit, is still amazing to me. Like it still happens. So that self-awareness, that growth, that acceptance of who you are as a person, like it takes work, and it takes time, and it takes consistency. But like I'm at a point in my life where yes, like there are things that I would definitely change, or not change. I can't even say
Improve.
change. um I mean, there are certain things that I wish were different, but I don't know that I would necessarily change. Like obviously I would love to like have the boys with me full time, like, but I don't know that I would want that under the situation that would have been under, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm. I get it.
so things like that, like, I definitely think about, but like who I am as a person and how I feel about myself as a person and how I present myself as a person right now, I don't know that I would have taken any shortcuts to get to this place. And I know that sounds like whatever, because I've dealt with some shitty things in my life, but like I'm at one of the most functional places in my life right now. Like I can't imagine dealing with this 5 years ago. Like 5, 6 years ago, I
Mentally?
could not, like, not only because of who I was at the time, but like the relationship that I was in and like the just who I was as a person and like how I saw things and how I processed things. Like I had no idea how I would have come out of this particular pandemic. But right now, like, I hate to say this because like people's lives are really being impacted, but I'm chilling. Like being productive when I have moments of productivity, giving myself moments of peace and processing when I need those moments. And a lot of that has come from just being comfortable with Carlos, with Los, with Babalos, like whatever, with Dr. Davila, with Professor Davila, like whichever variation of that, like, people kind of are resonating with. Like I'm comfortable with those things, and then figuring out ways to be more comfortable with each one of those aspects of myself.
I love it. And the best part about that is that one, we can't control anything that's going on around us. So with what you
Exactly.
can't control, you are being okay with that. And I feel like a lot of people are seeing, okay, cool, there's a lot of sad things going on and unfortunate things. We still have to celebrate the stuff that's good in our lives, because if we're just feeding ourselves that negativity, we're gonna get sick, we're gonna go crazy,
Hmm.
and it becomes that same loop where now it's just anger feeding anger, sadness feeding anger,
Exactly.
sadness feeding anger, sadness. But besides that, I do have to get ready for another one.
No
Carlos, this
worries,
was
brother. I appreciate you, man.